Hey everyone, I'm here to talk about UFC 301 going down Saturday, May 4th in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And they're going to make their return to Brazil since Glover retired and the entire crowd left his ass alone, basically, which I feel absolutely horrible about. I hope that doesn't happen this go around for the crowd and the fights. But in general, this is clearly a Brazilian stack card. It's not their biggest stars because they just went through a couple of them with Gilbert Burns and Alex Pereira. And I'm sure a couple more that I haven't named. But in the last couple of main events or pay-per-views. But Alexander Pantoja versus Steve Erceg is very, very much a sleeper. We could see the belt change hands here at 301. Now, this isn't to shit on anybody, but clearly this card doesn't have a star-level fighter like a Strickland, an Israel Adesanya, a Conor McGregor, somebody that stands out above the top of the crowd. But I think overall, this is a good card, and it's a sleeper card only due to the fact that we see a couple up-and-coming fighters get an opportunity against somebody that's experienced, somebody that has gone through the ringer a lot more than them, someone that might be able to take advantage from a young buck getting a little too happy and excited and making a mistake. Now, to start it off, we got Kai Brojalo going against Paul Craig, and I hope I did not mispronounce your name, Kyle, or maybe I'm even mispronouncing that. In general, I do apologize for that. But he's an up-and-coming fighter who his only loss was his second professional fight, which was a decision loss. He's going against Paul Craig, who is 17-7-1, who's weathered, who's gone through some of the top in the division. Whether he's succeeded, whether he's lost, he's gone through that experience and faced the top of the talent. Now, we'll see how Kyle handles that, because the majority of his wins have come from decision wins. And to be honest with you, that's not necessarily something in the top 5 to 10 range where you can get away with just winning a decision every single time. Sometimes you're not going to get lucky enough to get that win. Sometimes you got to dominate and take it out of the hands of the judges. And we'll see going against higher ranked talent and more experienced talent. Let's see if he can do that, if he can put away his opponent. It's going to be a great test to see where he is in his career and where he can go moving forward. Now, Michel Pereira and Ihor, this is going to be an interesting one too, because again, Michel Pereira, the experienced veteran. Ihor, don't get me wrong, he's experienced in his own right in 20-5, but he doesn't have the experience in the UFC like Michel Pereira has, going against some of the top talent, going against some of the hype trains coming up that he has derailed himself. He is one of the most explosive, athletic athletes that we've seen in the UFC. In MMA, it's going to be interesting to see how Ihor handles that, because it's going to be something he can't ever train for or experience until he gets into that octagon and faces it one-on-one. So we'll see how he responds with that. Now, third fight on the card, again, a similar trend here. Anthony Lionheart-Smith, 37-19. We've all seen him fight, being one of the top 10, top 15, hell, even competed against John Jones for the title at one point. The dude has the experience. He has the skill to put away Vitor Petrino, but 11-0. Again, this is another example. Young buck, rising star. Let's see. This is going to be a big test for him in his career because, again, Anthony Lionheart-Smith, 37-19, hella experience, hella skilled, has gone against some of the greatest talent of all time, John Jones. But he's been 5-5 since that championship bout and still facing top competition. He's not necessarily some walk in the park for Vitor. So we'll see how that one goes. Can Anthony Lionheart-Smith take his O, or can Petrino figure it out and go through the experience and gain some for himself and go 12-0? We'll see, because again, the card might not be stacked with name value, but there is value in every single one of these fights, because moving forward, we don't know if a star is born. We don't know what these guys can do at 301 on a grand stage. We're about to find out. And then Jonathan Martinez against Jose Aldo. Again, the trending theme. Up and coming guy gets his chance against top tier veteran or long standing experienced veteran. Let's see how he does. Let's see if there's that gap of experience where Jonathan Martinez does not know how to handle a Jose Aldo, because let's be honest with you, Jose is still necessarily young. I think he's like 35, 37, but That's still not that bad. He's still not that old, man. He's still, last couple years, been out of competition. Last couple fights, still fighting some of the top fighters. His last loss is against Merab. Let's not forget that. Who's, again, competing for the championship against Sugar Sean O'Malley. So if we're being honest here, if Jose Aldo was consistent with his career instead of taking that time to go box, who knows where he could be right now? Who knows? Maybe he could be competing for a championship possibly. Hell, we'll see what happens here at UFC 301 in Rio de Janeiro with the co-main event, Jonathan Martinez versus Jose Aldo. Because could this be a breakout performance for Jonathan Martinez, who's 30, who's an up-and-coming bantamweight fighter? Or can this be the resurgent career of Jose Aldo, who makes his return to the UFC, makes his return home in Brazil, and makes a last run at the title? We'll find out. Now, again, at the start, I said the star power is not there. Alexander Pantoja versus Steve Erceg. And I understand that I'm not trying to slight anybody, but that's just the facts. They are not as big as a Conor McGregor. They are not as big as an Israel Adesanya. They do not transcend the sport. If you are not an MMA fan or a fan of the UFC, you might not know who they are. And that doesn't mean that we won't get a great performance or a great fight here in this main event at UFC 301. Now, Pantoja gets to defend in Brazil against the Australian Steve Erceg. Can the Australian, his only loss is a split decision, but either way, can he figure it out? Can he get the submission or knock out Pantoja? Or can Pantoja defend against the hungry upcoming 28-year-old Steve Erceg and figure that out and get his opportunity of maybe going up to 135 and going and facing Sean O'Malley because he keeps calling him out online? Now, we'll find out. Again, I'm not here to make picks. I'm here to talk about the stats, the realistic things that could happen that could set them up in the future or during this fight. And clearly there's a trend here. The up-and-coming guy faces the long-standing, experienced veteran. And who wins? Does Father Time win? Does the pupil beat the teacher? I mean, let's find this out. Let's figure it out. This is going to be a great card, I think, for 301. I think a lot of people are sleeping on it. Let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you in the next one.